Hello, I'm Dave McCoy, and you've tuned in to the Emerald Water Anglers podcast, Undercurrent.
So Dylan, buddy, we're on the Skykomish together. When was the last time you were here?
I think it's probably about 18 years ago.
And what exactly had to take place in order for me to convince you that a day floating this with me was a good idea?
You promised there'd be a trampoline. And there was.
And I delivered.
Yeah,
See,
and
look,
you delivered, yeah.
Guide of my word. There you go.
That's right.
No, why are you here
I think it's...
again after 18 years?
Yeah, well, I quit fishing here because I think I was just so sad about the loss of the wild fish and then the closure of the fishery. And so, it's still open in the summer like now, and in the winter when the hatchery fish come in, or what's left of the hatchery fish come in. And I came, here and there after they closed it in 2001. But it just never felt very good to me being here. I don't know. It was like I was saying earlier, it's like coming back to your childhood home and there's no home there, or nobody's home. And so yeah, I just kind of didn't feel that great about fishing it. And then, time kind of slips away, and so it seemed like it was a good time to come back and just visit the old stomping grounds of, I don't think there's a river that I knew as well as this one and fished it as regularly, so it's kind of fun, and it's kind of a weird emotional thing to be here.
Yeah. Is there anything specific that allowed us to have the conversation about actually doing this? Like, has anything changed that you've seen that
No, I think
sort
it's
of drove you to want to do this?
I think it's become increasingly clear that, closing it to sport fishing that wasn't the thing that was going to make the wild fish rebound. Here we are 20 years from the closure, and there's still no recovery of the wild fish.
Mm-hmm. That begs a bigger discussion.
Yes, but I think just for the reason for coming out here now really is just it's kind of a nostalgia thing, and it seemed like enough time had passed that I could do it without crying.
Yeah. No, it's still early.
And just also I think it's so rare that you and I can make schedules fit and actually go hang out and do something. So that's a big part of the appeal, I think, just to hang out and float the river. And I think, fishing through these spots, some of I really mixed feelings because it's so, I don't know, it sounds sappy. There's just so many memories around each of these places. And
whoa.
You see a fish?
Jesus, yeah, that had to have been a king or something. That was massive.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw that one up there at Taylor Flat, but it was small. It might have been a jack or something, but it wasn't.
Anyway, sorry about that, but that was huge.
No, it's all good. So yeah, I feel like this is my old home, and it's good to come back and check in on it, I guess.
How does it feel? Obviously, we've been talking about all the change that's visible. How does it feel to be back on it?
The river feels great. It fishes good. There's a lot of good water. A lot of the spots are still here.
Yeah.
And they still fish good. But it is really sad that a fishery this good and a river this big and, just a place that meant so much to me is basically not here anymore.
So we mentioned closing the sport fishery didn't recover or have the impact that we had hoped for recovering the wild fish. What led the wild fish to the state that they're in currently?
God. Good question.
I mean, obviously, it's not one thing. We're not going to point our finger at one thing and have that be the fall person or the fall item. But
yeah, I think, I mean, we've seen this all up and down the coast, that when you put hatcheries in, the wild runs spiral, and I think that's been the one constant here. Yeah, there's been a lot more development. There's a lot of things have changed, but there's still, the biologists say there's just, tons of unused spawning and rearing habitat on this river, and the habitat's in better shape now probably than it's been, and the fish still aren't coming back.
So is that a product of we push the fish to the point where they can't self-recover now?
No, I think we're still polluting them in every possible way with amplified viruses and with competition for resources and with genetic, introgression from unharvested hatchery fish. I think the hatchery takes a huge toll, and we haven't fished it, but we've kept the hatchery going, and the fish haven't recovered. And the tribal netting's been curtailed, and so yeah, I think especially now with all the push that seems to be happening of switching to these the integrated broodstock style hatcheries, like that's the death knell. That signals that you're really at the beginning
of the end
of the real end, because in the past when the hatchery stocks start to fail because of inbreeding, they just go get hatchery or wild fish and like refresh the genetics.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're taking the wild fish and turning them into hatchery fish, when those fish start to fail, there's nothing left. Yeah, and so I think like the one last resource was what healthy genetics were able to survive in spite of the hatcheries. But as soon as we stop making a difference between hatchery and wild fish, then there's no resource to go back to when inevitably the hatchery fish fail, because you take all the natural selection out,
right,
that they need to survive in the wild. And so I think I honestly believe that if we let this push to these integrated broodstock programs, that it really is potentially the cliff right before extinction.
Well, even, I mean, this is gonna be a heated one, but like the idea of taking wild fish and removing their broodstock when they're an ESA listed wild fish, like, to me seems like it's almost a double negative impact on what's left.
I mean it's the great,
because at the end of the day you're still taking a wild fish, and from its, regardless of what its DNA has in it, you're still raising that fish in a hatchery.
Yeah,
so
and
it's
instead
have
of
that, one of those tendencies that we know hatchery fish kind of aren't as fit, if you will, for life as an anadromous fish in the Northwest.
But it's human nature to say, in the wild, out of 5,000 eggs from a big female, maybe, 100 of them hatch out of the gravel. I don't know what the number is, but a really small number can survive that, and then a smaller number survive to be a smolt, and then a smaller number. But if we raise them in a hatchery, we have 100% survival to smolt stage, or 90%. And as engineering-based humans, we look at that as a positive and don't stop to think that really nature's always culling out the weak ones, and the strongest ones survive. And so we reverse evolution,
right,
or we devolve the fish, and Oh yeah, so this is Thunderbird.
Right.
We should pull out and look at the
ripple. That's what I was going to do, was pull in right below the point there.
Yeah, I think, it's, I don't even know, I used to just say it was human arrogance, but I think it's just human nature to want to try and do better. It's just that the things that aren't obvious positives to us are really what makes everything work.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, you want to applaud human nature for wanting to do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something compelling there. The loss leaders that we're effectively tampering with the one control we really have, and it's not the one that's going to make the difference in whether the fish make it or not.
Well, and everything about our psychology is like, you know, if you don't like something, fix it. And so the idea of the best thing for us to do is just leave them alone is not acceptable to sort of our self-help psychology, right? Like there's a, you know, how many thousands of books have been published about how to fix your addiction or your depression or your lack of motivation or whatever it is, and we're fixers, you know, and we like technology, and I think it's coming around to bite us in the ass where fish are concerned.
Yeah.
You can just float wide and pull into the frog water down there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. This will end up pretty fucking wide if I don't touch the oars, so.
Yeah. We'll crash into the bank right there on the left.
Yeah. I know, I remember it was probably 15 years ago. Fairly notable guide from this region asked me how many fish per trip we were getting on the swing, like 15 years ago up on the Skagit and Sauk. I had quick math in my head and I was like, I don't know, one on average, maybe less than one. I was like, well, you just don't know what you're doing. Should be at least 2.75 or 3, maybe even 3 1/4 fish per trip on average. And I'm like, if that's the case, why'd you leave? Because I don't see why you would actually want to depart a place that's giving you access to that many fish on a swung fly. It's not happening like that anymore, man. Sorry. This looks fishy.
Yeah,
I like this.
This is one of those iconic spots of the Skykomish. It's not one of my particular favorites, but a lot of fish have been caught here.
I like that little seam right out there, though, right over the color chain.
Yeah, it's like that other place we fished where, you know, it's like there's that narrow pace between too clear and shallow and then too fast, right? And there is that little sort of bouncy stuff there I like.
Yep, especially right down here. Well.
Yeah, looks fishy. Go catch one.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can skate one up.
Then you better give me my 9-hour fly back.
I was going to figure out a way to sneak that out of your paws forever. It'd be my one Dylan fly. Top, bottom, what do you want?
Yeah, I'll just fish down behind you.
Yeah.
You can start at the top if you want, and I'll follow you, or you can start here, whatever.
I'll probably start right here.
Yeah.
It's going to sound weird, but I don't like to walk far.
Oh, crotch shot.
I've been getting out of this boats for a long time.
That one looked like it was bad, though.
Those aluminum bars, they slip on the floor.
Oh yeah.
Kind of take your step right out of there.
Yeah, I learned that on the linoleum floor of the ShopRite in Forks, where I had the full Johnny thrashing wipeout fall down.
I did that. Somebody said something to me as I was walking into a store with the bars on one day, and I went to come to a quick stop, and both feet went whoop like that. I landed on my ass so hard.
Hey, you're making it rain over here.
Yeah.
There's nothing like fishing river right with the downstream wind to ensure that when you do get the grab, the running line is around the handle of your reel.
This is when you go loopless.
Hey, you're the guy that's promoting the long belly no strip lines, you know.
Am I? Again, it goes back to the whole idea of there's no fish to catch, so we might as well just have fun casting.
I know.
And it's pretty fun casting that stuff. If you can do it.
Yeah, Smolt just ate a caddis right behind you. Let's see if I can do this without the crotch blowout. Both feet at one time.
Ben Howard right down here, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't this Ben Howard right down here?
No, we still got Thunderbird, IRS.
Oh, that's right. We got to get around the corner.
Jack Daniels.
Tequila.
I mean, we gotta get down past that thing,
Yep.
so it's still away.
We took the little side channel.
Looks like it runs clear all the way down, huh?
Yep. Used to be one of my favorite things on the Gunnison was when we'd get an odd numbered group of people. I'd find the one that was kind of looked most athletic and most fit, because we'd always have one of the smaller boats for the two-person.
And go down all the side channels.
I would take all. I'm like, can you swim? Look at me and be like, yeah. Why? Because we are going to take all the wrong entrances and exits to all the rapids. And he's like, why in the hell would we do that? Because it's fun.
And you probably get to places nobody else is fishing.
There's a little bit of that, yeah.
We called this, for years we called this Buners, because we saw Jay Buner fishing here one time.
Oh, really? On
Yeah.
this bar?
On this like little island thing, yeah.
Buners. Buner. Oh, God, I haven't had a Snickers in so long.
Pretty damn good, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's the latest Patagonia Provisions product. So there used to be a guy in one of the houses that's, I can't quite remember where it was, but it was somewhere, might be a little farther down, but he had a turret-mounted 50 caliber machine gun on his patio. And every once in a while he would open up downriver and you could see these 100-foot geysers like every 15 feet, like all the way down till you couldn't see anymore.
Wow. That's a little sketch.
There's all these houses here. I think it was called Sky Valley Estates or something, but it's just kind of a little community right here.
Mm-hmm.
So there was the guy with the 50 caliber belt-fed machine gun, and then there was another dude that had a what do you call those things? It's a hovercraft, and he could launch it on the wet grass down here and like cruise down onto the river and then just go down the river with it. I don't know if it's still like that, but this valley used to just be full of all these like tinkerers and like backwoods mechanic, like just kind of offbeat people, you know. So there's a little trough along the bank up there, Yep. That we called Upper Jack Daniels, and you could fish that high bank in high water. And it's one of those places where if you cast more than 40 feet, it's all pea gravel, but right along the shore there's big rocks.
Huh.
That was a pretty money spot in high water. Trying to decide if it's worth busting it up to try and fish that little side. Nah, it's probably just be spawners in there now. Yeah, so the other side, I think we just need to go over there and drift down and see where there's a good place to pull in, because the water's so high, it's like right up to the trees right now.
And again, I'm going to sit around and watch you fish.
Like watching paint dry, it's a long stretch, you got to fish.
Yeah. See how that goes. See how my big D loop works over there? That's a full on hold my beer and watch this boat driver right there. Oh, so the walk me through a day of winter fishing with Skykomish back in the day when you were most feverish about it.
Well, it used to be originally like, you know, we'd
What
get
was
up.
your job back then?
It was freelance writing, and basically in March and April just fishing. And yeah, it was, you know, originally when we first started fishing this river, we'd get up at the crack of dawn and launch the boat and all that stuff, and then we started to figure out the walk-in spots, and it became so much more effective. Water might be too high for over here.
Fishing this, buddy.
Let's float down a ways. The best spot is right above the tail out, so it opens up a little bit.
Maybe
down
right
there.
below that tree, there's a spot to pull in.
You might be able to.
Yeah. So you'd wake
ferry
up
in
at
there.
like 7 or 8.
Yeah, so then once we figured out the walk-ins, we'd go late, just let everybody go through, you know.
Right.
And usually I'd work in the morning and just come up and fish in the afternoon, or I'd fish in the morning and then work in the afternoon, and just drive in.
Sexy right there.
I know, this whole side holds fish, but it's best right down there.
Flat spot above the tail,
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd start up here and fish this whole thing, but
you can't even wade that right now.
Most of the time you didn't get fish till you were way down here.
All right, I keep interrupting you. So
No,
you
you're
get up
good.
early.
Just see if you can ferry back up
Yeah,
under that tree and see. It might just be too deep.
So you'd get up early, you'd let people fish through. So
Not get up
get a
early.
steak and egg breakfast at the restaurant down the street.
Yeah, and just come up here, and usually I'd drive either the back road or this road, and you know, try and get Buck Island first, or with nobody in it.
Right.
And you know, I mean, I think there was a lot of years where I bet more than half, maybe 75% of all the fly caught steelhead on this whole river were caught in Buck Island.
You're gonna get.
Yeah, it might not be doable.
I don't think you're gonna do it. I mean, if you want to really be aggressive, you can, but that's fucking deep, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, there used to be a little bar here, but it looks like it's washed out, even in lower water.
Level to shore right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was right here, between here and that big boulder.
Yeah.
Oh. God, I caught so many fish out of this right here. Yeah, it's changed. That boulder was always there, but there was like a little bank along here.
Well, you can see it looks like it's starting to scour down the left bank there a little bit.
Yeah, eventually it's going to go all behind that tree, huh? This looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, the inside of that.
Yeah.
It's like it just deadens up on you right there, though.
You want to just pull back in there and try it? I don't know. I'd never fished this before. It didn't look this good in the old days. The question is, how do you make this not be the grumpy old fuck saying, "Get off my yard"? I remember when it used to be good. Should have been here 20 years ago, damn it.
Suppose you could fish the inside of that, maybe.
Down through there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That right there doesn't look
better,
too bad,
right?
I guess,
Right
right there, yeah.
It's a little bit fast, but it might not be as fast as it looks. There's a big rock.
So you'd get up early.
Yeah, and usually I'd go by, and if there was nobody in Buck Island, I'd go there, and sometimes you get a bunch of fish and just stay there, or usually my second choice was that spot that we just floated over, and or that IRS, that side over there where we just fished.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there were people in all those spots, then I'd fish some of these secondary places and just wait for one of the favorite places to open up. Because, I mean, I guess there was enough fish around then, or there were enough bad fishermen that if people were gone, you could catch fish all day.
Yeah, bad fishermen. Did,
So it's pretty good right through there.
Yeah, not bad. Looks sink tippy.
Mm-hmm.
Did, so in the process of doing that, when you were, let's say you got Buck Island first thing in the morning and you felt like you were first on it, what'd that feel like?
Then your hands were shaking real bad tying your fly on.
Was it hard to actually step through the entire run knowing likely where you were going to actually pick a fish up?
Yeah. And it was really like, it was just like there was that little triangle like that at the very top where with just barely the tip out, you could get a fish.
Yep.
And then it kind of opened up like this, and it was, you might get a fish through there, but the money was the bottom third of it where there used to be stumps sticking up out of there. Right. And I think they've washed out, but when you got close to the first stump, you started going, okay, here it's going to happen. And then if you had it first, like if you got there in the morning, by the mid-90s, there was always somebody there in the pitch black night. Right. So I just quit trying to get it first. But if you did get it first, you would think, I'm going to get probably 3 or 4 fish. Like, you'd fish through, get one, and then you'd go up and fish through and get another one. And go, if you got one, you usually got more than one. Wow. Same thing with IRS, like that spot there that, like, if you got a fish, you're probably going to get another one. And so it could take a long time getting down the river to float because you didn't want to leave till you made at least 2 runs through without a fish.
Right.
So yeah, it could be, I think by all measures, it was a world-class fishery. I mean, that third week of March, somebody always, in like my little group, somebody always got a 40-inch fish. And pretty consistently through March and April, you would have, I think I told you there were a bunch of years where I was averaging like 1.6, 1.7 fish per trip. 40 minutes from downtown Seattle, you could be back in town. I mean, it was, that was the 90s in Seattle. There was like, that was what was going on, the bars and the music scene and all that stuff. Yeah. And so you could go up here, catch a 20-pound steelhead or 3 or 4 steelhead and be home in time to take a shower and eat sushi at a great restaurant and go out to the bars and see music and then
see Pearl Jam.
Go do the same thing the next day. It was, I honestly, I thought, like this is the life I dreamed of. Like, it's such a, and I think, when you're in the thick of that stuff, you never think like this isn't going to last forever. You just thought like, oh, this will just be how it'll be.
Isn't that indicative of how we treat almost everything though? When you're in the heat of the moment, you're like, there's not really typically a thought of what if, when this goes away. So that's fairly...
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty common
Yep.
human nature, like we were talking earlier. And,
Yep.
and I think also that there's, I don't know if it's so much about fishing is about, like, you're trying to find patterns of repeatability.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just show up somewhere and luck into a fish, it doesn't really mean that much. But if you figure something out, like, oh, here's how I make men's in this run, and it gets a fish to bite. So you're always searching for that repeatability. And as you start to do it, like, that's what happened to us, is that the population of fish was crashing, but we were getting better at a rate that was like inversely proportionate. So it didn't seem like there were less and less fish because, we got better. But in reality, it was, I think at that time we were fishing over 3% or 4% of the historic run. So you just start to think, like, oh, if you saw this river in the 30s or the 40s or the 50s or the 60s with our modern equipment, if you had a spey rod and good sink tips and stuff, I mean, it would have been probably too easy. Like, you get bored of catching steelhead on flies.
It's so, like, saying that blows my mind. I've you and I are about the same age. We grew up in some pretty good times in steelheading in the Northwest, but I just can't ever think of a time where
you got bored of catching them.
Exactly, where it was called, where we would rephrase what we call this, like rename it catching versus fishing. It was still fishing.
Yeah,
You still had days where you got your ass handed to you. I just can't imagine the idea of coming out and just looking at a run and being like, yeah, stick. Kind of like calling your shot with a trout and being like, okay, I know there's going to be one there, and then you just put a fly.
And yet there he is.
And yet there he is. He
Yeah.
lives there all the time, so it's a little bit different, but like,
well,
it's just unbelievable.
Like, so if I had years where I was averaging between a fish and a half and 2 fish a trip here, and that was on 3% of the run.
Right. That's what I mean.
If you just start to do that math, you'd be like, holy shit, like, you go out and catch 30 fish a day if
That's
you
what I
wanted
mean.
to.
It's like, I can't fathom that. There's been nothing ever in my fishing career that could render any degree of realism to that.
And it's always like, your baseline shift, right? So now people think, well, steelhead are really hard to catch.
Right.
And they're like the easiest fish to catch. There just aren't many of them.
Right.
But, they're so much more aggressive to the swung fly than any of the other fish. Like, if there was decent numbers of fish in the river, it would be way easier than trout fishing or Pacific salmon fishing or Atlantic salmon fishing you would catch them till your arms fell off.
Right.
And the fact that was here, not really that long ago is it's heartbreaking,
I just can't. I can't in my. I think it's natural. I want like an answer. Like I want to be able to ask, why is this not like that anymore? And I in the same breath that I say I want an answer, I actually really don't want the answer.
Well, yeah, because the answer is us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just human. It's the Fred Meyer's parking lot. I don't know if you were standing there when I was talking to Matt, but when you come into Monroe, that Fred Meyer's that's right there, huge parking lot. When I first started coming up here, there was a mountain there, and they tore the whole mountain down. And they sold all the gravel to make the secondary runway in the Bellevue Airport. And then they paved it and made Fred Meyer's there, and so, I mean, it's us, whether it's.
That's kind of spectacular to think about just in that.
Yeah, when you got off the freeway there and turned onto Highway 2 at the very beginning of Monroe, you go over that turn and come right into town. And there used to be, you were skirting a big mountain that was right there, and now you're skirting the Fred Meyer parking lot.
Hence why it takes that 90-degree turn coming off of the bridge.
Yeah, because there used to be it wasn't a mountain, but it was a big hill.
Certainly a hill.
That was
crazy.
Yeah. So I think it's that, and it's just, I mean, I think the hatcheries played a big part in this, which is the worst because we wiped out the fish thinking we were making more fish.
Right.
And then it turns out that more fish actually equals less fish.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's hard to take. I think, the river abides. It's beautiful. It's fishing great today.
Yeah.
Just, I realize we're not in the season, but still, there's just.
It feels good.
Well,
It
I mean, just
looks
the fact
good.
that we're not catching fish. That
Yeah.
if this was 1998 and we were fishing in March, you and I would have probably each had at least a fish.
So I, in earnest, have not paid horribly close attention to this, but like, what was the, if you had 100% of an egg to split between winter and summer, how much of the run of this river was winter versus summer?
Oh, I think the winter run was the dominant run here for sure.
That doesn't surprise me, but was it 70-30? Was it 80-20?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
I don't either.
There's wild fish showed up when they started trucking the hatchery fish up above the falls, on the South Fork.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, the reason it's open now is because they're hatchery fish.
Yeah.
And, you can catch one every once in a while, but they're not really into chasing flies down. It's not like, I'm sure if the native summer runs were here, there'd be a good fishery. And, because when this was having still pretty good hatchery runs in December and January, you could fly fish down here, but you didn't catch very many of them. And then when the wild fish started to show up in February and then really a lot in March, then it was like a pretty legit fishery. So I think part of that too is that just from a sport fishing perspective, the hatchery fish are not worth a whole lot.
Yeah.
Unless
is
you
that good or bad?
I don't know. I mean, the baseline shift, and then people go, "Oh, it's okay. We can drift salmon eggs, and we'll catch one." Or, I mean, maybe that's good.
Right.
But they're just such different. Like look at the Deschutes, right? Where the predominant number of fish there are hatchery fish, but you catch way more wild fish if you're fly fishing.
Yep.
And this huge river with only maybe 5,000 fish in it in the 90s, spread over 60 miles of river, were so aggressive that you caught plenty anyway. These big broad riffles, if you could get that fly to swim crosswise to the current this way, they would just chase it. And I never see hatchery fish do that.
Not very often.
Well, you probably see the same thing from your guiding on the OP, right? Like if you fish the bogus eel that has a big hatchery run.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's all in my head. It's just getting all jumbled up with the state of things now, because memories are always going to be memories, and it's, humans being what they are, they tend to remember the more dramatic ones, both for better and for worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, so many fond ones of fish taking swung flies, and summer hatchery. I didn't necessarily really ever fish at the peak of when the hatchery run was out there, so it wasn't as big of an issue to me. I was always there.
Yeah.
February through April.
But that's the
April.
thing too, is that the WDFW convinced the judge that wild fish came in the spring and hatchery fish came in the winter, and we could manage them separately. And so we wiped out all the November, December, January wild fish in the hatchery fish fishery. And so now that all that's left is like maybe would have been 30 or 40% of the run, but the bulk of the wild run originally was a December,
Early.
January run too.
I don't even think it was 30 or 40%. I think it was less than that, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was a pretty big number. I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, the fish, oh, you mean in the spring? Yeah, it might have been 20 or 30%, which now is the peak of the wild return.
Well,
but it really was
when
the
you
tail.
when you take the mountain away from it out, right?
Yeah, and that's
And build a Fred Meyer parking lot, if you will.
That's what we're left with. And
Yeah.
I think these fish can survive habitat problems like a Fred Meyer's parking lot or some of the logging, and that they evolve to overcome volcanic eruptions and landslides and glaciers and all that stuff. But what they didn't evolve to deal with was this huge influx of domestic genetics.
Something tampering with their genetics.
Yeah, the survivability code. Yeah. And so I think like that to me is the biggest tragedy, in that in trying to get more fish, we ended up with less fish. And I really feel like with the Skykomish and, well, shoot, I mean, if we look at the OP this year, those projections on run size, every single river on the coast was projected to come in either barely meet or be well below escapement numbers, except the Quileute, which is home to the Sole Duck, which is the only of all those rivers that doesn't have any hatchery fish. And that was projected to come in at double the escapement.
Right.
So if stuff like that doesn't tell you that hatcheries are the limiting factor, I don't know what we're waiting for.
Well, I guess, I think for me, the most frustrating part of this is we never really get to banter in full depth on all the different criteria used to make some of these decisions, or even to come to educated decisions, right? And the average person is going to latch onto the one that they can reason in their own head enough to be, either why hatcheries are good, why hatcheries are bad, why fish are gone, why it's still okay to fish, why not keeping a fish wet is fine. All the different little tentacles out there. We never just walk through the whole thing.
Yeah, no,
and
I think
really
that's
put
true.
it all on the table, and not just present it as data that somebody can go contrast with data they find in their next favorite place, but actually have the conversation about why is this the case, and what really does need to change if there's hope for wild fish to return.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing is we saw, like with the Orca task force, which resulted in all these extra Chinook smolts being dumped in, which, further endangered ESA-listed Chinook.
Right.
I think the decisions that are made are the ones that force people to alter what they want to do the least. Right? So it's not, we don't do what's really right for steelhead, for wild steelhead. We do what's maybe a little better for them, but doesn't impact what we like to do.
Right.
So I think that's just the real answer to get more big wild Chinook for the orcas that every scientist that has dealt with orcas has said is the case, was to not harvest in the ocean, let them come back, let the orcas have first crack at them, and have human fishermen fish closer to the terminal areas.
Right.
But that messes with people's programs, so they don't want to vote for that. Right? And if we don't have the hatchery here, it shuts down the few guys that are still guiding here, or the local guy that wants to fish for the smoker or whatever. So they go for the hatcheries. And even if the big picture shows that you're doing the wrong thing, I just think that people want to do.
Well, it's become a slice of their life, right? And it's not a slice they're willing to either halt for a while or get rid of entirely.
Yeah, and the fishing slowly gets worse each year.
And eventually we're going to end up having to do it anyway.
Yeah, so that was that. So the list I think we talked about on the phone, that, when I first moved here, I moved to Seattle, I think it was in 92. And the fishing opportunities within a day trip from Seattle for steelhead, we fished the green at Flaming Geyser in the summer. We fished the Snoqualmie off David Powell Road in the summer. We fished the Stilly in the summer and the winter. Skagit, Sauk, springtime. Skykomish, springtime. All those fisheries are gone.
Yep.
Just in the interim between, like, say, the late 90s and now, all these places, like, I would wake up on a fishing day and be looking at the river levels of like 7 different options of like, where do we want to go steelhead fishing today? And
what really tickles your fancy?
yeah, do you want to go fish some of those small runs on the Stilly? Do you want to go fish the great big open stuff on the Skagit? Do you want to, pretend like you're on the Dean, fish the Sauk? Do you want, like,
right.
It was all available, and granted, a bunch of those were hatchery-based fisheries that collapsed because of inbreeding and all that sort of stuff. But so whether they were wild or hatchery, the fact is they're either closed or there aren't enough fish to make it worth fishing anymore now.
Right.
And so, like, I mean, I honestly, like, I spent a bunch of the last year trying to think of everything I live here for is either gone or going rapidly. Like, what's next? Where do I need to move, and where would I move to?
Yeah.
And that's I think that's where, to me, the real heartbreak comes. I mean, the Skykomish is first and foremost in my mind because it was a river that I fished a lot. It was my home river. That's like what I was saying when we were driving up here. It's just, this is my home river, but the things that made it home aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
And I guess, if you're a striper fisherman or a Atlantic salmon fisherman or trout fisherman or whatever, that maybe you look at this as the canary in the coal mine and go, man, this thing that I love, whatever it is, could just be gone.
Yeah.
Bonefish in the Keys. Thank you. The population, the age group density of stripers on the East Coast is all screwed up now. They're all things that if you aren't fighting tooth and nail, when it starts to go, it might go to where you can't fix it anymore. Yeah, we're there.
Nothing like some clear white gun tequila to wash down that emotional.
Yeah, and I try not to be, I try really hard not to be hopeless about it. Because, if you give up hope, then whatever. But I feel like, we've been fighting this fight for a really long time, and it's only gotten worse.
I know. Which, I mean, I think that hopeless thing is a great point because, I mean, shit, look what I do. I can't be hopeless, and even realistic is hedging on hopeless to some degree, And so, I guess that's one of the things that I wrestle with every single frickin' day is how, number one, in good conscience, do you sell equipment to chase something that you feel like you need to leave alone? I get given grief for that all the time. How do you...
Well, yeah. I mean,
how do you do all these things that keep the hope alive and the enjoyment of the time spent on a river like this, or whatever the watershed is you're going to spend your time on? If it brings you that deep a joy, in the process, where's the colliding point where you have to, like, I don't want to have people have to give that up.
No, I know, and I mean,
even though I feel like I see it down the road, not terribly far.
I think about it all the time. I mean,
And I'm hopeful too. I don't want to give up hope.
It's so close. Like, if you look at the places where the hatcheries went away and see the rebound, how quickly it happened, you know, like Montana or the Eel River or the Toutle River, or, you know, there's all these places, you know, even the peninsula now. The fact that there's been 2 openers on the Skagit after being closed forever as a result of the lawsuit that closed that hatchery down for 12 years.
Yep.
Within 6 years, there were enough fish to open the fishery, and now they want to start the hatchery program again.
Yeah, that's, I don't even know where to, I think another shot at tequila on that one.
I mean,
I don't even
it's
know how to deal with that. Well, it comes down to money, too. That's part of it. That second one's better, right?
Wow.
That's my personal mix. So I'll tell you this now that you've had a couple of drinks, but I typically don't rinse out my flask. There's always just a little bit of brown water or a little tequila in there when I put my next pour.
Oh, so it's some random mix of
It's McCoy's custom mix of spirits.
Wow. That's I don't know what exactly to say about that.
That's why I'm telling you that after you had a drink.
Well, that drink does have a little wang to it that's not exactly what I was expecting.
Full transparency, it is all spirits that are in there. So any of the wang is a concoction of those. That's it.
Yeah, so that's the what are you drinking? Oh, it's a nice mix of bourbon and tequila.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, part of why I think it's important to talk about places like the Skykomish is that it's not necessarily that it gives you hope or it kills your hope or whatever, but that you can see that relatively recently, this was a world-class steelhead fishery, the kind of fishery people spend $10,000 to go fish for in other places.
Yep.
And that I think we could have it back relatively easily if we just made the right decisions. You know, and all this time, I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot, but, you know, all the sport fishermen that are complaining about tribal harvest of steelhead is a tiny percentage of what it was historically. Just like recreational harvest is a tiny percentage of what it was in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, you know. And so, you know, if you're getting wound up about indigenous gill netting, I would say you're barking up the wrong tree, because that's not the issue. If we had anything close to even half the historical numbers of fish on these rivers, there'd be plenty for all of us. It's just because we're fighting each other over like scraps. Yeah.
So now it looks audacious how much get kept through, you know, through the indigenous peoples, but in reality, it's only because the number of the overall fish is just so much closer to what 50% is.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, no, I totally get it.
I think, yeah, and I mean, I feel the same way about recreational harvest. If we had anything close to what the carrying capacity of these rivers is, you could still have your 40 fish steelhead tag and punch it out, you know, and it would make,
or even your 10 fish.
It would make no difference, you know. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think the hope is that we know the fish are resilient. If we could just give them a break and let them do their thing, I think they'd come back in numbers that, you know, that anybody alive today has not seen, you know. And so the fact that there's like this political impediment to making that happen is what makes me sad. Because
that's what it is.
Yeah, I think if, you know, on this river, if the Wallace hatchery and the Reeder hatchery suddenly like blew up and were out of commission for 20 years, I think you'd have a shitload of steelhead in these rivers.
I don't know.
Are we getting instructions to shift gears from the director?
No. The director has a question he wants me to ask. I'm trying to figure out how to play it into a conversational piece. I mean, you already sort of touched on it. We call these fish unicorns. We've elevated them from fish of 1,000 casts to 10,000 casts. To, you might as well not have a fly on there. Go enjoy your spay casting and hope you're swinging a leader over a fish. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna take the shotgun and just aim it right at my Achilles right here. But just like our industry's got this issue with still building up these fish as this pinnacle, and yet this is where we are, numbers wise. Is it responsible? Are we being responsible? I mean,
I think it's problematic on a pretty minor level to me. I mean, in that if you want to, well, let's just face it, guys that are swinging flies for steelhead are not harming a lot of steelhead to start with.
I'm calling it noodling.
but the only but the only reason it's the same thing with the tribal fisheries. The only reason it's an issue is because we've mismanaged the fish to where we're fighting over scraps, like you said.
Right.
And so, like, to me, like, you have to find that balance. You know, the more people that are interested in steelhead and want to catch one, maybe there's some political power in that, you know, that can help us recover the wild fish. Now,
is that a fallback for people to be able to rely on that as their scapegoat for just putting more people out there doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is. I mean, it's, you know, I've always hated that thing whenever there's a closure. People always say, oh, well, then there's going to be no enforcement and the hillbillies are going to snag all the steelhead or whatever.
Right.
You know, again, that's sort of like after the fact legitimization of your argument, you know. And so, yeah, I am concerned about the growing interest in steelhead fishing at a time when steelhead are collapsing. I mean, I think that's a legit concern. That said, I don't think fly fishing for steelhead is having a tremendous impact. Well, okay, it is having an impact now, but it's because there's only a handful of fish left, right?
Well, that's the bite, though, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've obviously recognized that there's virtually no freaking fish left. So is it responsible of people like myself and others in the industry, people bigger than me, certainly bigger than me in the industry, to continue to build products to make it easier to go out and catch these fish at a time when they're at their...
Yeah, and I think, you know, I mean,
it's like, I don't want to, I had something I was going to parallel that to, and I'm not going to. But
so funny, the trains, when you walked into Buck Island, you had to come up the train tracks, and if the trains came, it was scary. You had to like jump off the tracks and stand to the side, and it's kind of scary standing next to a big train going by because there's wind and all that kind of stuff. But I always used to take all the change and lay it on the tracks, and then I'd go down and fish, and then I'd come back, and you'd have like these cool, flat, elongated pennies.
Do you still have any of those?
Probably. I'm sure I have some at home.
I used to do that too.
But it just made me think of that. But yeah, I think it's a conundrum for the industry. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo the impact that we have as fishermen, because certainly it's not good for any individual fish to be caught and released. Like, it doesn't do them any good.
Right.
But it always leads me to the bigger picture that the tribal netting's not the problem. The recreational harvest or bycatch is not the problem. Incidental mortality is not. The problem is at a policy level, you know, and that, I don't want to be the guy that shoots the last buffalo. And I definitely am fishing for steelhead in the winter with less enthusiasm than I used to because of those feelings. But I also see that, like, if we don't get enough of a taste of it to care about it, and it doesn't seem possible, then who's going to keep fighting this fight? Like, who's going to, I mean, you're not going to live forever. I'm not going to live forever. And so far we haven't been able to rally enough people to make the impact we need to make. I think it's encouraging.
It's generational. We've got a generational gap coming here that's going to kick our ass on this.
Except that the younger generation of people are way more aware of and interested
But most
in
of them haven't
conservation.
caught one of these fish.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
that deep, that deeply resonating care and love for something comes from an interaction with it.
Well, I'm sure that
Or something, warm and fuzzy, like cheetah kittens are super cute and stuff like that.
the baby seal.
Your steelhead fry, I think it's really fucking adorable. You think it's really cute. They're beautiful works of art from Mother Nature, right? But at the end of the day, like, if you haven't been able to provide the experience to somebody that really puts this front and center on their conservation plate, then that generational gap I'm talking about is coming.
Yeah,
That's our
and
kid
yes,
age,
no,
right?
I agree with you because the experience isn't there, and
Yep.
so I guess like what I would say if I was king, aside from just shutting down all the hatcheries, I think what I would say is that, yeah, go ahead and fish, but spend an equal amount of time or money on conservation issues as you do fishing. Like, that's just the level of responsibility it's going to take.
So, question on that, because I totally agree with you. Currently, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out about this give as much as you take type of mentality. And unfortunately, you're going to have to lead people down very specific paths of what that looks like. What are in your mind? What does that look like for somebody? Let's say I spend 20 days a year pursuing these fish. What's my collateral on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think
Not that there's a right answer. I just in
No,
your head, what does that look like?
yeah, and I've thought about this a lot.
I do too, and I don't know what it looks like yet.
I think the best thing you could do is, if you have unlimited time and you fish 20 days a year, take another 20 days a year and volunteer at some of the really good nonprofits. Make sure that you are there to testify at the Capitol when things come up. Write letters to legislators and lawmakers whenever it's appropriate and whenever you can. Or even more effectively, take the amount of money it costs you to take those 20 fishing trips and either cut it to 10 if money's tight and donate 10 days worth of finances. Or if you have unlimited money, then take 20 days worth of whatever you spent. And if it's steelhead, write a check to Wild Fish Conservancy, because they're that's the last group that's really still standing up to fight the hatchery issue. And so I would say, yeah, that probably cuts into business for guides and rod manufacturers and all that sort of stuff, fly shop owners. But I feel like if you're just the ordinary citizen fisherman and you're fishing for anadromous fish, that the only way we have any shot is that it's a 50-50 thing, that you're and maybe, I don't even know that that's enough, but I know that it's going to take that level of commitment. And like I was saying earlier, I am encouraged that there's, a lot of the new generation of fishermen are way more environmentally aware and concerned and active than we ever were.
Yep.
And I never thought about it even once until this river we're sitting on right now shut down. All I ever thought about was, can I afford top ramen and beer and gas to go fishing? And so I think, so that's encouraging. And, when you talked about the generation gap of people who will not have experienced steelhead fishing the way you and I did, I think, it makes me sort of sad to even say it out loud, but there was a generation when all of a sudden there was only a few buffalo left, or a few passenger pigeons left, that said, oh, that was something that just my grandparents got to do, but it's gone now.
Yep.
And I think we're probably pretty close to that with steelhead in that, the next 20 years, 30 years, there's probably going to be a time where there really isn't steelhead fishing.
Yeah, I know. That's what really.
And it's hard to put a positive spin on that because I'm the guy that said all his life, like, I hate trout fishing, but I'm like, man, maybe I got to become a trout fisherman because the opportunities to fish for steelhead and feel good about it is shrinking rapidly. Yeah. And then there's the personal responsibility stuff that, some of this is being driven by climate change, right? There's more scouring floods in the winter. There's hotter water in the summer. The ocean conditions are spending much longer amounts of time in bad conditions than good conditions.
Yep.
And we drove 2 cars to get up here. And our brake dust is on the road that is toxic to fish.
And tire rubber.
And I fly to British Columbia to fish for steelhead in the fall. And, and so we're all complicit on some level. Can you give back enough to try and make up for it in some way? I think that's probably the best we can do. I don't know. Does it do us any good if we just quit fishing?
No. Well,
you could become an eco tour guide.
Subjective question, because I know that there's a fair number of people that we both probably know, and maybe we even fit into the category of fishing goes away. Where does my state of mental health go? I can come out here and I can sit on the river like we are now and watch the water float by, and trust me, I love that wave right there. I love in my head kind of looking at that and seeing it for what it is and what caused it, what it leads to, and stuff like that. But the only reason I really have that sort of insightfulness on
because of fish.
Because of goddamn fish. That's right.
Yeah, that's
exactly fucking right.
That's that, Tom McGuane always said that, if he was a more thoughtful person or a more Zen person, he could just go out to the river and sit on the bank and enjoy it, but he has to have a game to play. And that's exactly it too. The only reason we're having this day hanging out together is because of fish.
Yep.
Right? This wouldn't be nearly as good if I just came over to your house and we sat on the couch.
I met you because of fish.
Yeah. Well, and that's my whole life. Shit. All the best people I know are fishermen.
I do what I do.
And that's. If we weren't fishermen, we'd probably be lost. But
I wouldn't be. I'd be slinging burgers at McDonald's or something like that.
That'd probably be more profitable.
Could be. Certainly more than what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I think it. The one thing I think we haven't figured out how to tap into yet is there's so much more of a fishing community now than when I was a kid or when you were a kid.
Well, it's certainly more accessible.
And, and part of that is, is Instagram and Facebook and all that there's these online communities. If I look at my social media, it's all fishermen, right? So there's a community kind of there. Sort of a weird one because it's I like your picture, I don't like your picture or whatever, but it is these people's names and who they are and what they're about.
Yep.
And then it's through, it's shops like Emerald Water Anglers, right? Where you created this community that somebody's in town is going to read some fish stories or you're going to show a film or, and that creates this, when I was a kid, I was like the only person my age I knew that was into fishing. Like I didn't know anybody else. You know, I'd take my buddies, but they'd be kind of just sitting on the bank throwing rocks and like hanging out. Like, can we go now? You know, and you know, I mean, until I was probably 15, there wasn't even a fly shop in the town that I lived in, and so there was no community. That's why I suck at casting and fly tying and all that shit now, because there was nobody to teach me. There was no community, you know.
I'm glad you admitted how much you suck at both of those.
Yeah.
We've got photographic evidence.
Yeah.
Of such, so.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm fishing your fly out of
pity.
Graciousness to you.
Yeah, pity. Exactly. But you know what I'm saying is that, like, I don't know that we've really tapped into that as an environmental force yet. And I don't know what the way is that you do that, but I think that there's some potential there that didn't exist 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or, you know, whatever it is. And
I think there is too. It goes back to what I said earlier. I just feel like, you know, there's so many different entities that are pumping out information based on their science or their optic or their opinion or whatever, and depending on your ability to objectify all of it and look at it, you know, evenly across the board, which very few I believe are, for a litany of reasons, but it makes it really hard to coalesce that community into a singular driving force. And that's I think for me, that's one of the most frustrating things, because I totally agree with you. I think we have a massive community that we could mobilize to be a powerhouse to do the right thing. We're just incapable right now.
But don't you think this community is made up of people that are more environmentally aware than past generations?
More environmentally aware, but still very in favor of their subjective place within that.
And is that selfishness? Like, is that, because I know in our generation,
some of it is selfishness.
In our generation, it was clearly selfishness. All I cared about was being able to go catch steelhead. I mean,
and I don't think that that's changed for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That exact statement, I don't think that that's changed for a lot of people.
But, well, here's another thing that has happened, though. This is like another thing in the industry that I think potentially provides some hope is there's way more women involved now than there ever was. And in my experience, the most kick-ass conservationists are women in a lot of cases, you know, and not to make like sexist generalizations or whatever, but I think there's a level of empathy and care that is more built into women in general, but maybe in particular women fishermen. And, you know, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but the number of fishing women now seems to be exploding, you know. And, you know, maybe there's some hope there. I mean, I know the women in my life have been always more willing than the men to roll up their sleeves and dive into something and make shit happen, you know.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as compassionate, but I look at Natalie every day and I'm like, wow, I still have a long ways to go on that front, you know. And I certainly think, and this is just gonna be as objective as I can make it. We're still a male-dominated community in sport, for that matter, and at this juncture, women can be very powerful in the movement if they choose to be, and they choose and do so wisely. I totally agree with you. That is a huge hope for me, and I think it would go beyond women too. I think going into every other facet except for the middle-aged white guy is going to make us a more powerful, more enigmatic community that can.
So, as a middle-aged white guy that owns a fishing industry business,
yep.
How do you engage?
Who are you talking to?
That guy behind you. You know, so how do you, like, because I thought about this a lot, like, how do you engage that female component without being sort of paternalistic or you know, like it has to come from within, right? Like, you can't be like, what you ought to be doing is this. It has to You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same thing with all the kind of, I think, minority activism that's happened around, the Asian and Pacific Islander stuff, the BIPOC stuff, the Black Lives Matter stuff, the
LGBTQ,
the pink pussy hats. I mean, we've seen these huge uprisings, but they only work if it comes from within that group. Like, you can't be going, hey, I'm a middle-aged white guy, and you guys really ought to get on it and create a movement. Right?
No, I hear what you're saying. At the end of the day, and this is just my perspective on it, is our sport has forever been very exclusive in many ways, through financial demand, through accessibility, through the production of the products that were made. We don't need to get specific, but my opinion on this is the way that you allow an organic sort of growth within those communities is to do everything you can to be an honest and innocent bystander as conduit to them being able to do so where they haven't before.
Yeah, so I look at it like, like Bruce Hill, who was, probably the most effective fish conservationist, at least in North America for a lot of years, up in British Columbia. I used to ask him, I'd be like, hey, what are you working on? And his whole thing was creating capacity for the First Nations or for the other groups to just be more effective at what they already knew what to do.
Sure. Create the space for them.
And maybe that's the, you've had big women's programs at Emerald Water Anglers for years.
Since we started.
And maybe that's a place that could be the birthplace. I'm reading Peter Matheson's book, In the Spirit of Crazy Horse.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, the American Indian movement in the 70s.
I'm assuming you don't want any more of my cocktail.
I'm good. Yeah, you can fill that off. I'm good. Yeah, I'm not slurring my words yet, I don't think.
There's a little chunk in the bottom of that.
I just saw a king jump, right?
Did you?
Yeah, right where that back sluice sort of comes in and meets the fast water over there. Saw a pretty good king, maybe like 15 pounds came out of the water over there. All right, I'm going to look at my phone too. And
Tom was telling me that one of his favorite things is when people say, "Oh, fly doesn't matter." It just doesn't make any difference. And so he went into this, not long, but he went into a fairly detailed dissertation of which fly, when, why, and sort of his methodology for coming to those conclusions through guiding and stuff like that.
For steelhead fishing?
Yeah, for steelhead. Yeah. And I totally get it. And then I fished one fly for basically 10 years and caught fish on every river during every time of the day and year on that one fly. So then, which is it?
Well, all things being equal.
What's your state of that?
I think it really depends. I think there's a big difference between summer steelhead and winter steelhead.
For sure. In
where they hold and the size of the fly and stuff.
Yep.
And then I think there's a big difference between Canadian steelhead and steelhead down here.
What would be the differentiation in those two besides their flag colors?
Well,
names of the rivers they return to.
Yeah. So let's see. So in general, a lot of what I learned was on this river.
Okay.
And what I learned on this river is that the fish often more readily bite smaller flies than what people think you should fish for winter steelhead. And that frequently when guys are fishing, pounding the hole with the big intruders,
yep.
that I fish this,
yep.
the little black or little purple woolly bugger, and you will catch a number of fish behind them, like just for whatever reason, like just something small is good. And then I've also found that on the few times when I've really been in the steelhead and you get a fish and then you fish through and you don't get one, then you put a smaller fly on and you'll get one, and then you fish through again, don't get one, put another smaller fly, more natural fly, all the way down to really small buggy, but that when they stop biting the big stuff, they'll still bite the smaller stuff. So I go through that progression. If like on the Bulkley or even the Kispiak sometimes, and in the old days on this river, there's times where there's a shitload of fish in the run and you can just keep catching them.
Right.
But you have to keep changing your fly because the ones that didn't bite already saw that fly and chose not to bite it.
Right. They've already made a decision on it.
So you get smaller and smaller, and so like a lot of times on the Bulkley, which those are pretty active feeder summer steelhead that get a lot of pressure, and everybody fishes big blue marabous up there, right? Yeah. So my best fly on the Bulkley is a size 4 stonefly that I tie so that it swims like a streamer. I don't dead drift it, like I swing it hard. Uh-huh. But it has rubber legs and a little bead head, and it's dubbed dark brown body with, and that outfishes a big marabou almost all the time, unless the water's dirty.
And that was on the Bulkley or the Kispiak?
Yeah, on the Bulkley. And the Kispiaks too.
You see different personalities between those fish?
No, I think the water's just different. The Bulkley's like this. There's the big sweeping gravel bar runs, and the Kispiaks has bigger rocks, and it, has sometimes they're in these deep slots and stuff, and then you need some kind of lead eye thing and fish way downstream from you to get that sink and then just that little swing. The Bulkley is exactly what the Skykomish should be like, in the winter. It's same stuff, big open river. But the Bulkley has a lot more fish, and so sometimes you're in a hole like the golf course hole in Smithers. There might be 300 steelhead in that run, and you just have to find the fly they'll eat. You don't have to go to another spot. You don't have to try. You can just stay there all day and just keep changing flies and
figure
keep
out
catching
what it
fish.
is they want.
Yeah, and I usually go big black woolly bugger, and then when they stop biting that, I'll go to a smaller black woolly bugger, and when they stop biting that, I might do a green butt skunk, a small one, a size 4.
Okay. Sparse or?
Just a standard whatever.
Heroine. Okay.
Yeah, or I'll go natural and I'll do a size 4 stonefly nymph swinging, and then I go down to the thing we call the special, which is this crazy weird, I don't know if I even have any, and then that becomes the go-to fly, and you can frequently just keep fishing that. But I fish a bigger fly when I'm searching because I just want the most aggressive fish to show me that they're there.
Okay.
I don't know if I have any of the specials in here. Let's see if I have one. This is a winter box, but here's the special. This isn't the size we use, but we use 2 sizes smaller than that, but it looks like that.
Huh. That's kind of a cool looking fly, actually. Is that what is the wing? Is that is it rubber legs?
Yeah, it's silicone legs.
Yeah.
And then, but my main kind of combination searching and finicky fish fly is that swinging stone fly, which is that.
Huh. All right.
That, I think, if I had one summer steelhead fly to fish in an interior river where the fish are holding. So down here they're moving, and so I fish.
This is more coastal as opposed to Grand Ronde or.
So Deschutes, Grand Ronde, Bulkley, Kispiaks, that's the fly I'd always use.
Okay.
Will you hold us a special for him?
No.
I was just gonna say he's not gonna show you that.
I'll show you real fast.
Merganser, where's your parents? Hey, where's your parents?
Oh no, the muskies, the raccoons.
Where's your parents there, buddy?
Is that a baby merganser?
Bit of an afro on him.
Yeah, he's got the crest going without the body size. But I like tying these, so that's just more recreational, and they're fun and they look pretty in the water, and so those.
Does that ever provide you any degree of confidence, one over the other, based on how it looks?
No, if I just had to catch a fish, I'd fish a black woolly bugger.
I love it.
But these are fun. Like, they're pretty in the water, and they're fun
They
to
look
tie.
great hanging on the cheek of a fish.
Yeah, and
Do you ever switch out the fly when you catch one so you have a pretty one in its mouth?
no. But the one you have, the one that's on your thing, that one's caught several fish. But what happens is those flies take so long to tie that I end up fishing them on lighter tips than I probably should for a given run. Sure. Because I don't want to snag up and lose them. And then if I snag up, I'll like wade out to my freaking belly button with sticks and shit, fucking up the hole, just trying to get the fly back. But I think, it's a good high water fly, but you hang up a lot in high water because you're fishing close to shore, right? So, like when I'm going to be doing industrial strength high water fishing, I just fish these.
Yep. Again, not 6 inches long, not massive.
No, I didn't bring the string thing box.
Half a chicken and half an ostrich split evenly.
I have a whole box though of like 8-inch bunny leeches. That for some reason the fish on the Skeena really like long, skinny flies. I don't know why, but I've done well with them there, so I fished that. But that do you have a black over? It's blue, right?
Blue. Yep.
Yeah, the black over purple for some reason is just such a good fly on the sole duck.
So do you go into color consideration based on water flows, time of year, clarity, temperature, and sun direction?
Sun direction, no, because it's almost always cloudy. Right?
Steelheading. Come on, Pete.
Let me think about that. No, it's really just size and bulk based on water clarity.
So silhouette based on water clarity.
Yeah, and I almost always fish dark flies, except on the glacial rivers I like pink, like dense flies that aren't translucent. Okay. So like on the Hoe or the Queets, I like black or red bunny where you can't get light through it. Okay. But on the sole duck or the bogoshiel, when the slide's not bleeding, I like that, the fly that you're fishing. If there's color in the water, and then if it's clear, I just fish that.
All right.
I'm mostly dark.
First time through a run, you don't get anything, but you're positive there's fish there. You choose your bigger fly that you started with. What do you go to from there?
Then I go smaller. Yeah, if I'm sure there's
color,
fish there.
Or do you go smaller and just stay in the same?
I think I probably would just go smaller. I might go smaller and try and fish it deeper and slower. Okay. You know what I mean? Like less of an arc.
Sure. And straighten your belly out a little bit.
Yeah, and I just noticed like you fish a much straighter line than I do. Like you like your fish like more like this, and I like mine like this.
More of a belly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm frequently making downstream mends with the close line to get it to swim this way.
I do that when I feel like I'm petering out and I'm not getting a swing, I'm getting a dead drift. Then I'll definitely open the belly up and try to get it to grab water and start to come across. It's
interesting because Nate fishes a real straight line to his fly too, right? And I've fished with him for hundreds of hours. Yeah. And there's really interesting things because there are some days when the fish really prefer it, where it's hanging down and quartering across more than swimming across their vision. And then there are days where they really want it swimming across their thing. And so I always fish it across just because I like the grab when they have to chase it, where they're coming after it and it's like, like that,
Sure.
But
what's
there
up,
are
guys?
You doing any good?
Anything? Nice. A lot of talking. Not much catching. Yeah, no kidding. That doesn't help stability at all.
We've seen a couple kings roll though here and there. In this hole? No, the next hole up. Yeah.
Right by that. That side channel up there.
It's fast water there, and then there's a little bit of soft water on the far side in that corner. Saw a really nice king roll there about a half an hour ago.
In the soft water?
Well, right on kind of
Right
the
on the
seam, right on the edge of that fast water.
There you go.
So yeah, that's okay. So speaking of that, depth-wise, so here's my deal. I'm like, I just enjoy the casting so much that I'm not really fishing anything heavier than a T10 anymore. And so, speaking of gaining depth, you know, based on how you present that fly, you can get depth for the initiation of a swing based on how you cast.
Yeah, and sometimes they like it when it's coming up through the water
and
column
I
that.
like that. In my head, that seems like something that's.
But you
evasive.
got to really know where the fish is because it's
For
only
sure.
a short piece where it's doing that.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like that's a very evasive look to your fly.
Yeah,
which I think draws a curious look from fish. So
it's like coho, right? Lead-eye fly on a floating line jig, right? You strip it like this, and that fly is going like this, and
vertical migration.
and they really like that.
Yep. So, what's the heaviest tip you fish? Do you go clear to the top, or do you stall out at 14 or something like that?
No, like about the most I will fish is probably 10 feet of T14.
Okay.
And
do you
realistically,
level?
most of the places that I fish, if it's anything more than that, you're hung up like 10 feet of T14 is like a cannonball. You know, I mean, it's deep.
Turns over elegantly.
And it's really easy to get it out of the water to start your cast.
Especially in a dead hang and slow water below
Yeah,
you.
it comes in, it hangs up on the rock, so you use half of your rod movement trying to get it out of the rocks.
Yep.
Then you got to try and get it up on the surface.
That's why your shoulder's fucked up.
It's sink tips, right? That's why. Yeah, I blame the sink tips, damn it.
So do you, and you're using level, you're not using
it's not tapered, no.
Density compensated.
No, I just have the old school, 10-foot chunk of T14 with
fine.
a loop on each end.
Okay.
But
How long leader do you fish off of that?
I usually start the day at about 5 feet, and it ends up about 3 feet by the end of the day.
Okay.
Straight maxima 15.
Yeah.
And
And
I use 20, but sometimes it like breaks the fly line.
Right. And do you fish? Loop to your fly all the time?
No, I tie that pearl knot thing and have it like hugging the shank of the fly.
Yep, I saw that when you handed me the one that I'm fishing.
But I fish a lot of hooks that aren't steelhead fly hooks. You know, like straight eye or down eye flies a lot of the time.
Larger streamer hooks, stuff like that.
Small, like those ones I was showing you.
I mean, like size 4.
Yeah.
Streamer hooks.
Yeah, like my favorite, if I had to just land a steelhead no matter what, my highest percentage of landing for sure is that 2X heavy, 2X long Tiemco. I think it's like a 9262 or something.
Okay.
Yeah. It's that right there.
Right.
Right. And it has a perfect bend. It's a half circle instead of a sweeping bend.
Right.
And that's by far the highest landing percentage for me. My lowest landing percentage is the Alec Jackson beautiful Atlantic salmon hook.
Yeah, I love those.
So
how often do you fish articulated intruder type flies versus just your single shank flies like that?
Well, all those ones like that one you're fishing, that blue one are those, it's on a wire loop, right? And then I fish some of those string leeches where I sew the string through. I use Power Pro and weave it through the leather. Yep. But mostly day in and day out, it's that Tiemco 9262 because it's easier to keep them in our fly box. And same thing like with. I had tube flies, and too many times, like they flew out of the box, like with a gust of wind or whatever, and I was like, "Fuck this! I want my hook to be part of the fly." But yeah,
So are you not fishing tubes at all?
I haven't fished tubes the last few years, just because it just seems like it's another hassle. And I like tying on hook shanks better. Like it just feels better. Oh, so here's Ben Howard.
Ben Howard coming up.
Ben Howard is
Not
the
a lot
run.
of gravel bar sitting there.
No, and it's the run that goes forever. Like you
It is
you
a
hate
long
it.
bastard.
Big Wilson's riffle on the bogey.
Yeah.
It used to be all just flat all the way out there.
Yep.
And now the river right bank's just
I
digging
know,
this
it's got a
big old
huge
deep
divot
drop.
in it now.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, were you there this winter?
Yep.
That's one of those places that I don't know why you catch fish there.
At Wilson's.
Yeah, because it's like this fast, steep riffle that's really shallow, but there seems like there's often fish there. But I never feel like it's fishing that good when I'm
That's
fishing.
where I caught my first OP steelhead was in Wilson's.
Really?
Yep.
Actually looks pretty good over there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this used to be all over here.
It's crazy. Well, look, there's still a riffle line out there, so there's still...
Yeah, well, that's where you would fish. You'd walk out, it was all just frog water here, and you'd walk way out there and be trying to hit that seam.
Yeah, I mean, that seam looks pretty good right there. It's probably 6 feet deep right here. 5.
Hard to say. But yeah, I mean, what a resource this could be if it still had good runs. You
Well,
know?
shit, I mean, you had All About the Fly that was out here in Monroe. You know, you had a fly shop literally based in Monroe.
Everybody should come to the Skykomish and fish for steelhead because it's really good. And you'll need to buy 3 or 4 spay rods from Dave McCoy.
Yep. That way you can just have every head and every sink tip configuration with each of your fly options on there. Then you don't need to worry about changing them out. You just grab a different rod, walk through. Ooh. Yeah, it was fun, D. Glad we got to do this.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I think,
Hope it was good for you.
yeah, it's really enjoyable. I think, you know, there's a lot of a disproportionate from reality amount of like weird emotional stuff for me around it, but it's good to like be back here and see the spots and stand in the water and fish them, and you know, I think.
Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Now that you've done it?
Yeah, I'd do
Yeah.
it again.
Like, I can't imagine going a generation from your favorite river growing up and still living within striking distance of it. Glad I got to share this with you.
Yeah, it's weird though. It's like, you know, if you go away, then the longer you're away, the harder it is to come back because you just have sort of this dread around.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, shit, Dylan, I love you. Thanks for doing this.
yeah, it's fun. It's good. It's good to be here. It's good to hang out
It's
with
nice
you
to
guys.
see you not on Skype
Yeah, I know.
or Zoom.
After a year and a half.
Yep.
It's weird. It's like that whole year like just didn't exist, and it just feels normal to hang out again. Like it doesn't. It's not like.
I know, just a vacuum of time gone.
Yeah. Oh, there's some fishing line hanging down right
More
there.
filament sitting there.
Remember, kids, park your boat right in the middle of the ramp and then go leave to do your shuttle.
That's right.